Imagine stepping into a dark, dusty chamber untouched for over 3,000 years, your flashlight revealing golden treasures gleaming in the shadows. This was the breathtaking moment when Howard Carter first peered into Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, uttering the now famous words, "I see wonderful things." That single discovery reignited the world's fascination with ancient Egypt, a civilization so advanced, so mysterious, that even today, their secrets defy explanation. From towering pyramids built with impossible precision to cryptic hieroglyphs that whisper forgotten spells, Egypt's past is a puzzle missing crucial pieces, and what we don't know might just keep you awake tonight. Think about this. How did a society without modern technology align the Great Pyramid to true north with near-perfect accuracy? Why did pharaohs bury themselves with elaborate traps and curses, as if guarding something far more valuable than gold? And what really lies hidden in the uncharted tunnels beneath the Sphinx? These aren't just gaps in history, they're doorways to mysteries that challenge everything we thought we knew. For every answer archaeology uncovers, a dozen new questions emerge, pulling us deeper into the enigma. That's exactly why we're embarking on this journey together. In this video, we'll uncover 25 ancient Egyptian mysteries so baffling they've stumped experts for centuries. Some will make you question reality, others might send chills down your spine. But one thing's certain, by the end, you'll see Egypt not just as a land of pharaohs and mummies, but as a riddle written in stone waiting to be solved. So grab your explorer's hat, we're diving into the shadows of history, where every clue leads to another astonishing secret. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a monument not just to human ambition, but to a mystery that has baffled engineers and archaeologists for centuries. This colossal structure, built from over 2 million limestone blocks, each weighing anywhere from 2 to 60 tons, was assembled with such precision that even today's experts struggle to explain how it was done. Modern builders can't replicate it with our advanced technology, yet the ancient Egyptians supposedly achieved it with nothing more than copper tools and brute force. One of the most mind-bending aspects, its near-perfect alignment to true north. The pyramid's base is oriented within a fraction of a degree of the cardinal direction, a feat that would require sophisticated astronomical knowledge, something historians argue the Egyptians shouldn't have possessed at the time. So how did they do it? Mainstream theories suggest they used the stars, tracking the movements of constellations like the Big Dipper or aligning with the pole star. But even that explanation raises questions. Without compasses or advanced surveying tools, achieving such accuracy seems almost supernatural. Then there's the sheer logistics of moving those massive stones. The traditional explanation involves ramps, long, sloping structures that workers use to drag blocks into place. But here's the catch: no evidence of these ramps has ever been found. Not a single trace, and even if they existed, the math doesn't quite add up. A ramp tall enough to reach the pyramid's peak would require more material than the pyramid itself, making the theory feel shaky at best. This absence of clear answers has given rise to wilder ideas. Some suggest the ancient Egyptians possessed lost technology, perhaps even machinery, that allowed them to cut and lift stones with ease. Others, of course, point to extraterrestrial intervention, arguing that no human civilization could have achieved such precision without outside help. But while these theories grab headlines, they overlook one crucial detail. The Egyptians left behind clues in their own records. Scattered inscriptions and worker settlements hint at ingenious methods, like using water channels to float stones or counterweight systems to hoist them. The truth may lie somewhere between the known and the unknown. Perhaps the real secret isn't aliens or forgotten machines, but a level of human ingenuity we've underestimated. After all, this was a civilization that mastered mathematics, medicine, and astronomy. Why wouldn't they have found a way to move mountains of stone? Until we uncover more evidence, the Great Pyramid remains a silent guardian of its own secrets, daring us to unravel the greatest architectural riddle of all time. Standing guard over the Giza Plateau with its weathered face and enigmatic smile, the Great Sphinx is more than just a monument, it's a time capsule shrouded in controversy. While most historians date this colossal statue to the reign of Pharaoh Khafre around 2500 B.C., compelling evidence suggests its origins might stretch far deeper into antiquity. The mystery begins with the Sphinx itself. Unlike the pyramids, it bears no inscriptions, no hieroglyphs, no definitive link to Khafre or any other pharaoh. It's as if the Sphinx refuses to reveal its secrets, leaving us to decipher the clues etched into its very stone. One of the most striking challenges to the traditional timeline comes from the work of geologist Robert Schoch. In the 1990s, Schoch examined the Sphinx's body and noticed something startling: patterns of erosion that didn't match the arid desert climate. Instead, the deep, vertical fissures and undulating channels resembled weathering caused by heavy, sustained rainfall, the kind Egypt hasn't experienced since at least 5000 B.C., thousands of years before dynastic Egypt even existed. If Schoch's water erosion theory holds, the Sphinx could be far older than anyone imagined, a relic from a forgotten epoch when the Sahara was lush and green. Mainstream archaeologists counter that wind and sand could produce similar erosion patterns, and they point to nearby structures from Khafre's era as contextual evidence. But here's the catch: those structures don't show the same wear. The Sphinx's erosion is unique, as if it stood alone for millennia, battered by elements the rest of Giza somehow avoided. Even more puzzling, the statue's head appears disproportionately small compared to its body, leading some to speculate it was originally carved with a different face, perhaps a lion's, and later reworked by a pharaoh seeking to claim it. Then there's the legend of the Hall of Records, a fabled library of ancient knowledge said to lie hidden beneath the Sphinx's paws. Edgar Cayce, the famed psychic, predicted its discovery in the 20th century, and though no such chamber has been confirmed, seismic surveys have revealed intriguing anomalies beneath the statue, cavities, tunnels, and chambers that Egypt's Antiquities Authority has been reluctant to excavate. Could these voids hold scrolls or artifacts from a pre-dynastic civilization, or are they simply natural formations, their secrets lost to time? The Sphinx's age isn't just an academic debate, it's a doorway to a radical reimagining of history. If this monument predates the pharaohs who built it, and why, the absence of answers only deepens the allure, turning the Sphinx into a silent sentinel guarding truths we've yet to uncover. Until new evidence comes to light, one thing remains certain: this iconic symbol of Egypt's past might just be the most enduring mystery of all. Deep within the shadowy crypts of Dendera Temple, a peculiar carving has sparked heated debates among archaeologists and alternative history enthusiasts alike. The so-called Dendera Light Bulb appears to show a strange, elongated object resembling a modern bulb, complete with what some interpret as a filament and a connecting cable. At first glance, it's easy to see why this 2,000-year-old relief has fueled theories of ancient electricity, but like all great mysteries, the truth is far more nuanced. Egyptologists explain the scene through mythology, not technology. The carving actually depicts a lotus flower cradling a serpent, a sacred symbol tied to creation myths. In this interpretation, the filament is the snake emerging from the blossom, representing the god Harsomptus, while the cable is a jed pillar, a symbol of stability. The entire tableau illustrates the Egyptian belief in divine energy flowing through natural forms, not an electrical diagram. Temples across Egypt feature similar imagery, reinforcing the symbolic rather than literal meaning. Yet the fringe theory persists, and not without some intriguing points. The precision of the carving's bulb shape is uncanny, and proponents argue that other cultures, like the Baghdad battery discovery, hint at forgotten electrochemical knowledge. They question why such a detailed, standalone image would exist if it were purely symbolic. Could it be a case of ancient tech being misunderstood as magic, or, conversely, modern eyes projecting our inventions onto sacred art? The controversy highlights a recurring theme in Egyptology: the tension between mainstream scholarship and speculative theories. While no wires or bulbs have ever been found in digs, the Dendera relief reminds us that ancient civilizations often encoded complex ideas in art. Whether it's a metaphor for spiritual illumination or a literal blueprint, one thing's certain: this carving continues to electrify imaginations, proving that some mysteries shine brightest in the gray area between fact and folklore. High on the walls of the Temple of Seti I in Abydos, a set of peculiar hieroglyphs has sparked wild speculation and fierce debate. To some, these carvings appear unmistakably modern, vaguely resembling helicopters, submarines, even futuristic aircraft. The so-called Abydos helicopter in particular looks like a detailed blueprint for a rotorcraft, complete with what seems to be a tail fin and cockpit. At first glance, it's easy to see why these images have fueled theories of ancient Egyptians possessing advanced, or even extraterrestrial technology. But archaeology rarely deals with first glances, and the truth behind these carvings is far more fascinating than fiction. The mainstream explanation lies in a phenomenon called palimpsest, where older inscriptions are erased and rewritten, leaving behind overlapping layers of carvings. In this case, Pharaoh Seti I originally commissioned the temple walls with his own royal titles and symbols. Years later, his son Ramesses Roman II altered them, chiseling away parts of his father's work to superimpose his own. Over millennia, erosion wore down the softer limestone, exposing fragments of both inscriptions simultaneously. The resulting helicopter is actually a collision of two separate hieroglyphs: Seti's original carving of a crouching lion and Ramesses' overwritten falcon and flower symbols. When viewed together, the overlapping lines create an accidental illusion of modern machinery, but skeptics of the palimpsest theory raise valid points. The helicopter's outline is eerily precise, with distinct rotor-like curves and a pointed nose. Some argue that natural erosion couldn't produce such a coherent, machine-like shape purely by chance. Comparisons with actual aircraft schematics show unsettling similarities enough to make even seasoned researchers pause. Could this be evidence of a lost civilization's knowledge, or are we projecting our modern world onto ancient art? The debate underscores a deeper tension in archaeology: how do we interpret the unfamiliar? Human brains are wired to seek patterns, especially ones that mirror our own experiences. It's why we see faces in clouds or animals in rock formations. The Abydos carvings challenge us to discern between intentional design and pareidolia, the mind's tendency to find meaning in randomness. Modern technology offers new insights. High-resolution scans reveal the layers beneath the surface, showing how the hieroglyphs were modified over time. Yet even with these tools, the helicopter's uncanny resemblance lingers, a reminder that history sometimes leaves us with questions that defy easy answers. Whether a trick of erosion or a glimpse of forgotten ingenuity, the Abydos glyphs continue to hover at the edge of understanding, inviting us to look closer and think deeper. Queen Nefertiti's sudden disappearance from history is one of Egypt's most tantalizing enigmas. One moment, she's depicted alongside her husband Akhenaten, reigning over a religious revolution that upended centuries of tradition. The next, she vanishes from records entirely, as if the sands of time swallowed her whole. What happened to the woman whose name means "the beautiful one has come"? The answer might lie in a dusty side chamber of tomb KV35, where an unidentified mummy dubbed the Younger Lady was discovered in the late 19th century. Initial DNA analysis in 2010 sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. The results suggested this mummy was not only the mother of Tutankhamun but also the sister of Akhenaten, a finding that seemed to rule out Nefertiti, who was believed to be Akhenaten's wife, not his sibling. But here's where the plot thickens. Further studies revealed the mummy's genetic markers could align with Nefertiti if she were, in fact, Akhenaten's cousin, a scenario supported by some interpretations of royal bloodlines. The mummy's wounds, a brutal blow to the face, match historical accounts of Nefertiti's enemies defacing her legacy after her death. Then there's the tantalizing theory that Nefertiti didn't vanish at all, she ruled. Fragmented inscriptions reference a mysterious pharaoh named Neferuaten, who briefly took the throne after Akhenaten's death. The name, strikingly similar to Nefertiti's full title, has led scholars to wonder, did she shed her queenly identity to become Egypt's sole female ruler decades before Hatshepsut? A ceremonial ring found in Amarna bears both their names entwined, hinting at a seamless transition of power. The hunt for Nefertiti's tomb is just as contentious. In 2015, radar scans of Tutankhamun's burial chamber revealed hidden voids behind the walls, sparking rumors of a secret annex, possibly Nefertiti's undisturbed resting place. Egyptologist Nicholas Reeves proposed that the boy king's tomb was merely an afterthought, tucked into the outer corridor of a grander burial meant for his stepmother. Yet years later, conflicting scans and bureaucratic hurdles have left the theory in limbo, the chambers unexplored. Whether she died in obscurity or ruled as a forgotten pharaoh, Nefertiti's legacy is a puzzle wrapped in linen and time. Every clue, a mummy's DNA, a fragmentary inscription, a hidden chamber fuels more questions than answers. Until someone uncovers definitive proof, her fate remains an open wound in Egyptology, a mystery as alluring as the queen herself. When Lord Carnarvon died just weeks after entering Tutankhamun's tomb in 1923, the world didn't just mourn, it panicked. Newspapers splashed headlines about the curse of the pharaohs, claiming an ancient vengeance had struck down those who disturbed the boy king's rest. Carnarvon's sudden death, caused by a mosquito bite that turned septic, was only the beginning. Over the next decade, at least 11 others connected to the excavation met untimely ends, from mysterious illnesses to bizarre accidents. A radiologist who X-rayed the mummy died of an unknown ailment. Carnarvon's half-brother succumbed to blood poisoning. Even Howard Carter's canary was reportedly eaten by a cobra on the day the tomb was opened, an eerie echo of the pharaoh's sacred serpent symbolism. The media spun these tragedies into a narrative of supernatural retribution, but science tells a far more unsettling story. Modern researchers point to biological hazards, not curses, as the likely culprit. Sealed tombs like Tutankhamun's trap organic matter for millennia, allowing harmful pathogens to thrive. Studies reveal black spots on the burial chamber walls, not warnings from the afterlife, but colonies of opportunistic fungi like Aspergillus niger, which can cause fatal respiratory infections when inhaled. Add to that toxic levels of ammonia, formaldehyde, and even radioactive elements like uranium found in some burial sites, and the so-called curse starts to look like a perfect storm of environmental hazards. Ancient Egyptians may have understood these dangers intuitively, using curses as deterrents to protect both the dead and the living from contaminated spaces. Yet the curse's grip on popular culture persists, fueled by psychological phenomena as much as history. The human brain is wired to seek patterns, especially in tragedy, a cognitive bias called apophenia. When a string of deaths follows an archaeological discovery, it's tempting to connect the dots into a sinister design. Hollywood amplified this fear, turning the curse into a staple of adventure horror, from Boris Karloff's The Mummy to modern franchises. Even today, incidents like the 2018 deaths of researchers examining the cursed tomb of Casimir the Great in Poland reignite debates about whether some places are meant to stay closed. Perhaps the real curse isn't supernatural at all, but the consequence of violating sealed ecosystems. Tutankhamun's tomb, untouched for over 3,000 years, was essentially a time capsule of microbes. Modern archaeologists now wear hazmat suits when opening such sites, treating them more like biohazard zones than treasure chambers. The irony, the ancient warnings carved into tomb walls, "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king," might have been the world's first public health advisories. Whether through spores or superstition, the pharaoh's message is clear: some doors once opened can never be closed again. Herodotus, the ancient Greek historian, once described a structure so vast and intricate it defied belief, a labyrinth near Hawara in Egypt that supposedly dwarfed even the pyramids. He claimed it contained 3,000 rooms, half above ground and half below, connected by winding passages designed to bewilder any intruder. The walls were covered in carvings, every corridor leading to new chambers filled with sacred relics and statues of gods. To Herodotus, it was a marvel surpassing all others, a monument to human ambition and devotion. But today, almost nothing remains of this fabled labyrinth, leaving us to wonder, was it real or just the exaggeration of an awestruck traveler? Archaeologists have long searched for traces of Herodotus's labyrinth, focusing on the area around Amenemhat III's pyramid at Hawara. In the late 19th century, Flinders Petrie uncovered the foundation of what he believed was the labyrinth's outer wall, a sprawling complex spanning hundreds of thousands of square feet. But instead of intact hallways and towering pillars, he found rubble. The structure had been systematically dismantled, its limestone blocks likely carted away by later rulers to build new cities. Roman-era records confirm this fate, describing how entire quarries worth of stone were stripped from the site. What was once a sacred maze became, quite literally, the building blocks of another era. The labyrinth's association with Amenemhat III adds another layer of intrigue. This pharaoh ruled during Egypt's Middle Kingdom, a time of profound religious transformation. The labyrinth wasn't just a palace or tomb, it was a sprawling temple complex dedicated to the cult of the king, a place where rituals blurred the line between mortal and divine. Some scholars believe it housed the sacred crocodile of Sobek, a living embodiment of the god worshipped in the nearby city of Crocodilopolis. Others suggest it served as an administrative hub, a physical manifestation of the pharaoh's control over the chaos of the cosmos. Modern technology might yet reveal secrets hidden beneath the sand. Ground-penetrating radar has detected anomalies near Hawara, hinting at buried chambers and passageways. But the real mystery isn't just whether the labyrinth existed, it's why such a monumental feat of engineering was allowed to vanish. Perhaps the answer lies in the very purpose of labyrinths, symbols of transformation and trial. Like the myth of the Minotaur's maze, Egypt's lost labyrinth may have been designed not just to impress, but to test those who entered. Its disappearance feels almost poetic, a final enigma left by a civilization that mastered the art of leaving questions in its wake. Carved directly into the bedrock of an Aswan quarry, the unfinished obelisk sprawls like a colossal ghost of ambition frozen in stone. Weighing an estimated 1,200 tons and stretching 137 feet long, this monolithic project, had it been completed, would have dwarfed all other obelisks in Egypt. But its greatest value lies not in what it could have been, but in what it reveals, an unparalleled snapshot of ancient engineering in progress. Unlike polished relics displayed in temples, this raw, uncarved giant exposes the brutal reality of how Egyptians wrestled these towering monuments from the earth. The process began with teams of workers using handheld dolomite balls to pound trenches around the obelisk's outline, creating a deep groove separating it from the bedrock. Microscopic analysis shows they hammered in perfect unison, striking the same spot up to 60 times per minute, a rhythmic precision that prevented cracks from forming. Once the sides were freed, only the base remained attached, waiting for the final levering that would snap it loose. But disaster struck. Hairline fractures spiderwebbed through the granite, likely caused by hidden flaws in the stone or a sudden temperature shift. The obelisk was doomed, its structural integrity compromised beyond repair. What might seem like failure, though, is actually a gift to archaeologists. Those cracks preserve evidence of techniques no intact obelisk could show, like the use of wooden wedges soaked in water to expand and split stubborn rock. The scale of this abandoned project hints at something extraordinary. The Egyptians were pushing their skills to the limit. By the reign of Hatshepsut, when this obelisk was likely commissioned, builders had moved beyond practical monuments into feats of sheer audacity. The unfinished obelisk wasn't just meant to stand, it was designed to awe, stretching the boundaries of what quarried stone could achieve. Modern engineers calculate that moving something this massive would require a workforce of thousands, along with a ramp system strong enough to bear its weight without collapsing. Perhaps most intriguing is what the abandonment tells us about Egyptian problem solving. Unlike modern construction, where blueprints are followed rigidly, pharaonic projects adapted on the fly. When cracks appeared, artisans might have tried salvaging the obelisk by shortening it. Archaeologists have found smaller, recycled obelisks with similar proportions. But this one's sheer size made compromise impossible. Walking away wasn't a sign of defeat. It was a calculated decision to redirect resources, a reminder that even the most advanced ancient civilization faced limits. Today, the quarry floor around the obelisk is littered with stone chips and abandoned tools, a time capsule of interrupted labor. The air hums with echoes of chisels and shouts that died mid-swing. For all its silence, the unfinished obelisk speaks volumes not as a relic of perfection, but as a testament to the gritty, problem-plagued reality behind Egypt's polished wonders. Left in situ, it challenges our romanticized visions of seamless ancient achievement, offering something far more valuable: the human story of ambition, risk, and the cracks that humble even kings. Beneath the sands of Saqqara lies a subterranean gallery that defies logic: the Serapeum, a labyrinth of tunnels housing 24 colossal sarcophagi, each carved from a single block of granite weighing up to 100 tons. The precision is staggering. Lids and boxes fit together with seams so tight, not even a razor blade can slip between them. The surfaces are polished to a mirror finish, their corners perfectly squared, their edges razor sharp. This isn't just stonework, it's engineering on a scale that rivals modern machining, achieved thousands of years before the invention of power tools. Officially, these monoliths were built to hold the mummified remains of the Apis bull, a sacred animal worshipped as the living incarnation of the god Ptah. Historical records describe elaborate funeral processions where the bull's body was paraded through Memphis before being interred in the Serapeum with royal honors. But skeptics point to unsettling discrepancies. Why would bulls, even divine ones, require coffins larger than those of pharaohs? The sheer tonnage seems excessive for animal burials, leading some to speculate these boxes held something far more mysterious. Then there's the enigma of construction. The granite was quarried over 500 miles away in Aswan, yet there's no evidence of ramps, pulleys, or the massive workforce needed to transport these behemoths. Even more perplexing is the precision. Modern engineers struggle to explain how artisans achieved such flawless surfaces without advanced tools. Microscopic analysis reveals no chisel marks, just smooth, even strokes that suggest the use of technology we've yet to identify. Alternative theories range from the plausible to the extraordinary. Some researchers propose the sarcophagi were vibrational chambers designed to amplify sound frequencies for rituals or healing. Others point to their alignment with celestial events, suggesting they functioned as ancient energy devices. The most radical claim that the boxes predate dynastic Egypt entirely, remnants of a lost civilization with knowledge we've since forgotten. Mainstream archaeology dismisses these ideas, emphasizing the Apis cult's well-documented history. Yet the questions linger like dust in the Serapeum's torch-lit corridors. Whether sacred coffins or something more enigmatic, these silent granite giants stand as a testament to a skill we're only beginning to comprehend and a mystery that refuses to be buried. Deep within the heart of the Great Pyramid, modern technology has peeled back layers of time to expose a tantalizing secret hidden chambers that defy explanation. Recent scans using cosmic ray muon radiography and thermal imaging have revealed mysterious voids, including the so-called Big Void, a cavernous space nearly 100 feet long lurking above the Grand Gallery. This isn't some small fissure or natural gap. It's a deliberate, empty space sealed away for millennia, untouched and unexplored. The discovery has reignited age-old questions: what lies inside these voids? Are they forgotten burial chambers, structural quirks, or something far more enigmatic? Mainstream Egyptology remains divided. Some experts, like former Antiquities Minister Zahi Hawass, dismiss the voids as mere construction gaps, spaces left to relieve pressure or facilitate the pyramid's assembly. They point to similar voids found in other pyramids, arguing that these were practical solutions, not hidden treasure rooms. But critics counter with a compelling detail: the Big Void's alignment. Positioned directly above the Grand Gallery, its dimensions mirror those of the gallery itself, suggesting intentional design rather than random engineering. Could this be a sealed chamber meant to house Khufu's true burial, a safeguard against tomb robbers, or perhaps a symbolic space, a celestial counterpart to the gallery's ascending passage, representing the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife? Then there's the tantalizing theory of architectural redundancy. The pyramid's builders might have created backup chambers or alternate pathways in case the original plans failed, a testament to their meticulous planning. Others propose these voids served ritual purposes, acting as resonance chambers for sound-based ceremonies or even repositories for sacred texts. The lack of inscriptions or artifacts makes verification impossible, but the precision of their placement hints at a purpose beyond mere practicality. The debate took a dramatic turn in 2017 when the Scan Pyramids team announced another void near the pyramid's north face, reigniting global fascination. Yet despite these breakthroughs, bureaucratic hurdles and preservation concerns have stalled physical exploration. Robotic cameras and endoscopic probes could offer answers, but for now, the voids remain tantalizingly out of reach, their secrets locked behind tons of ancient stone. Whether gaps, tombs, or sacred spaces, these hidden chambers remind us that the Great Pyramid still guards its deepest mysteries. Every scan peels back another layer, but the truth, like Khufu's mortuary cult, remains just beyond our grasp. Until someone breaches those walls, the voids will linger in the realm of speculation, a silent challenge to our understanding of Egypt's most iconic monument. In the dusty archives of ancient texts, few documents spark as much controversy as the Tully Papyrus, a fragmentary record allegedly describing an otherworldly event during the reign of Pharaoh Thutmose III around 1480 B. C. According to translations, the text recounts a bizarre spectacle: fiery discs gliding across the sky in formation brighter than the sun before vanishing into the heavens. To UFO enthusiasts, this is smoking gun evidence of extraterrestrial visitations in antiquity. But to scholars, the papyrus is a riddle wrapped in skepticism, its origins as murky as the phenomenon it describes. The story begins in 1933, when Italian Royal Air Force officer Alberto Tully claimed to have discovered the papyrus in a Cairo antique shop. Too expensive to purchase outright, he copied its hieratic script, a cursive form of hieroglyphs, and later transcribed it with the help of an unnamed Egyptologist. Here's where the mystery deepens. The original papyrus vanished. No photographs, no carbon dating, no verifiable trail. All that remains are Tully's notes and subsequent translations, leaving experts to question whether the document ever existed at all. Linguistic analysis further muddies the waters. The text's phrasing doesn't quite match known Egyptian styles. The term fiery discs, for instance, appears nowhere else in ancient records. Critics argue the description might be a mistranslation of poetic metaphors, perhaps a celestial event like a meteor shower or solar halo, phenomena Egyptians documented with vivid symbolism. Others suggest the entire account could be an elaborate hoax cobbled together from misunderstood myths or outright fabrication, yet intriguing parallels exist. The Ramesseum papyrus, dating to roughly the same era, mentions circles of fire in the context of divine omens. Similarly, Mesopotamian tablets describe bronze boats sailing the skies, while the biblical book of Ezekiel details a visionary encounter with a wheel within a wheel descending from above. Are these independent accounts of aerial phenomena or merely cultural interpretations of natural events? The Tully Papyrus occupies a gray zone between history and myth. Without the original document, we're left weighing second-hand accounts against the broader tapestry of ancient anomalies. Whether it's proof of early UFO sightings or a cautionary tale about lost artifacts and mistranslation, one thing's certain: humanity's fascination with the unexplained is as old as civilization itself. And until that fragile papyrus resurfaces, the debate will keep hovering, much like those mysterious discs over Thutmose's Egypt. Buried in the sands of Saqqara for over 2,000 years, a small wooden artifact has ignited one of Egyptology's most enduring debates. Known as the Saqqara Bird, this delicate object dating back to around 200 BC looks strikingly like a modern airplane, complete with a sleek fuselage, wings angled for lift, and even what appears to be a tail fin. At first glance, it's easy to see why some researchers believe this could be evidence of ancient flight technology. But is this really a miniature aircraft, or merely a stylized representation of a bird, as most Egyptologists insist? The answer lies somewhere between myth, craftsmanship, and a surprising dash of aerospace physics. Mainstream archaeology classifies the Saqqara Bird as a ceremonial falcon, likely a child's toy or religious offering. After all, the artifact was found among other funerary objects in the tomb of Pa-de-Men, and bird motifs were common in Egyptian art, symbolizing deities like Horus. The missing piece, literally, is the bird's head, which might have clarified its purpose, but here's where the plot twists. The object's design deviates from typical avian carvings. Unlike other bird models from the era, the wings aren't sculpted with feathers or perched in a natural position. Instead, they're flat and angled downward, resembling the airfoils of a glider. Even more intriguing, the tail fin stands vertically, a feature birds lack but aircraft require for stability. This anomaly led aerodynamics engineer Simon Sanderson to put the Saqqara Bird to the test. In a 2609 wind tunnel experiment, he discovered something astonishing. The artifact's shape generates significant lift when angled correctly. With a slight adjustment, adding a small stabilizer to the tail, the Saqqara Bird behaved like a functional glider, capable of smooth, stable flight. Sanderson's findings don't prove the Egyptians had airplanes, but they do raise a provocative question. Could artisans have stumbled upon aerodynamic principles by accident? Ancient cultures observed birds for millennia. It's plausible that trial and error led to designs that, unbeknownst to them, harnessed basic flight mechanics. Skeptics counter that symbolism often trumps realism in Egyptian art. The tail could represent a stylized feather cluster, and the wings might reflect artistic shorthand rather than engineering intent. Yet, even this explanation doesn't fully extinguish the mystery. Some point to texts like the Legend of Etana, an ancient Mesopotamian story describing a king carried to heaven by an eagle. Could such myths hint at early human fascination with flight? Or was the Saqqara Bird merely a cleverly balanced object designed to wobble in the wind like a kinetic sculpture? The truth may never be fully resolved, but the Saqqara Bird's legacy soars beyond its size. Whether a sacred symbol, a child's toy, or an accidental glimpse of pre-modern aviation, this unassuming artifact reminds us that ancient minds were far more observant and innovative than we often assume. It's a testament to humanity's timeless urge to reach for the skies long before the Wright brothers made it official. For centuries, the legend of Heracleion lived only in scattered whispers, a bustling metropolis swallowed whole by the sea, mentioned in ancient texts but lost to time. Then, in the year 2000, underwater archaeologist Frank Godolphin made a discovery that sent shockwaves through history. Off the coast of modern-day Alexandria, beneath 30 feet of Mediterranean water and layers of silt, lay the ruins of a city so grand its scale defied belief. This was Thonis Heracleion, Egypt's gateway to the Mediterranean for over 1,000 years, now frozen in an aquatic grave. The city's submersion reads like a biblical parable. Geological evidence suggests a perfect storm of disasters: rising sea levels, a massive earthquake, and liquefied soil caused the entire port to sink abruptly around the 8th century AD. Imagine the chaos: towering temples collapsing, colossal statues toppling, and an entire civilization's wealth vanishing beneath the waves in what might have been a single catastrophic night. Today, diving into Heracleion feels like entering a surreal dreamscape. 16-foot statues of pharaohs stand sentinel in the murky depths, their stone eyes still staring toward the horizon. Giant steels inscribed with hieroglyphs so crisp they seem freshly carved lean against the seabed as if placed there yesterday. Even the mundane becomes extraordinary. Gold coins, pottery, and delicate jewelry lie scattered like ornaments on a sunken banquet table. But Heracleion isn't just an archaeological goldmine, it's a bridge between myth and reality. Ancient Greeks believed Paris and Helen of Troy took refuge here during their flight from Sparta, and the city's dual name, Thonis to Egyptians, Heracleion to Greeks, hints at its role as a cultural melting pot. Divers have recovered votive barges once used in lavish festivals for the god Ammon, along with Greek weapons and Phoenician glass, proving the city was a hub where empires traded far more than goods. They exchanged ideas, faiths, and legends. The most haunting find, a temple to the god Khonsu, son of Ammon, where priests once performed rituals to ward off chaos. Now its ruins stand as a monument to the very chaos they feared, nature's ultimate triumph over human ambition. Yet perhaps Heracleion's greatest lesson isn't about destruction but preservation. The same waters that drowned the city also protected it, sealing artifacts in a time capsule untouched by looters or decay. Every recovered fragment forces us to rewrite history, proving that sometimes the deepest secrets aren't buried in sand. They're waiting beneath the waves where the past refuses to be forgotten. High on the ceiling of Dendera Temple's pronaos, an ancient sky map confronts us with riddles carved in stone: the Dendera Zodiac, a breathtaking circular relief depicting constellations with uncanny precision. At first glance, it looks like a snapshot of the heavens frozen in time, but closer inspection reveals layers of cultural collision and cosmic interpretation that have fueled debate for centuries. Is this an advanced Egyptian star chart, a product of Greco-Roman influence, or something even more extraordinary? The zodiac's imagery is a celestial tapestry woven with both familiar and alien threads. Taurus the bull, Leo the lion, and other zodiac mainstays appear, but they mingle with distinctly Egyptian symbols like the flood god Hapi holding aloft the watery sign of Aquarius. Even more intriguing are the planetary positions. Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn align in ways suggesting the artists recorded actual astronomical events, possibly dating the carving to around 50 BC. But here's the puzzle: the traditional Egyptian calendar didn't use zodiac signs until the Ptolemaic era, when Greek astrology flooded the Nile. So was this knowledge borrowed, or did the Egyptians possess their own sophisticated celestial science long before? When Napoleon's scholars stumbled upon the zodiac during their 18th century Egyptian campaign, they were so electrified by its complexity that they did the unthinkable: they pried it from the ceiling and shipped it to Paris. Today, it hangs in the Louvre, a displaced relic that still pulses with questions. French astronomers of the time argued the zodiac encoded a timeline of pharaonic rule stretching back millennia, while modern researchers see a hybrid artifact blending pharaonic star lore with Hellenistic precision. The most radical theory comes from fringe historians who note something startling. The constellation positions seem to mirror the night sky not from 2,000 years ago, but from thousands of years earlier. Could this be a copy of a far older original, preserving astronomical knowledge from a forgotten epoch? Mainstream Egyptologists dismiss this, pointing to the temple's late construction date, but the zodiac's mathematical harmony leaves room for wonder. Whether a product of cultural exchange or a testament to lost wisdom, the Dendera zodiac remains a mirror reflecting our eternal fascination with the stars. Its carved constellations whisper that the sky has always been humanity's first storybook, and some chapters might still be waiting to be read. Etched into the walls of the pyramid of Pharaoh Unas, the last ruler of Egypt's fifth dynasty, lie the oldest religious texts known to humanity, the pyramid texts. These sprawling incantations, carved over 4,300 years ago, aren't just funerary graffiti. They're a sacred roadmap to the afterlife, a collection of spells so potent they were reserved solely for the king's journey beyond death. Unlike later tomb inscriptions meant to be read by the living, these words were hidden deep within the pyramid's burial chamber, as if their power could only be unlocked in the darkness. The texts themselves are a labyrinth of metaphor and mysticism. Spells promise to turn the pharaoh into a celestial being, ascending to the sky as an imperishable star, or riding the sun god Ra's bark through the underworld. One particularly haunting passage utterance 330 details the ritual of opening the mouth, where priests use an adze to symbolically reanimate the dead king's senses, allowing him to eat, speak, and see in the realm of Osiris. But woven between these divine assurances are glimpses of something darker. Battles with serpent demons, trials before enraged gods, and even cannibalistic hymns where Unas devours other deities to steal their power. What makes these texts truly revolutionary is their evolution. Centuries later, excerpts reappear in the coffin texts of the Middle Kingdom, democratized for nobles and officials who could now afford their own customized afterlife spells. Though once exclusive pyramid texts had trickled down, their secrets repurposed for a broader elite. Yet scholars suspect this written record is just the tip of the iceberg. The language is achingly sparse, full of references to rituals and gestures that must have been part of a richer oral tradition, one lost to time. Theories abound about what might be missing. Some Egyptologists, like James Allen, propose the texts were mnemonic shorthand cues for elaborate performances involving chanting, incense, and processions. Others point to cryptic passages describing the sound of silence or words spoken by the wind, hinting at meditative or trance states, the most tantalizing idea. That the pyramid texts encode esoteric knowledge about consciousness itself, offering not just a guide to the afterlife but a manual for transcending it. Among the shadows of Unas's pyramid, one spell stands out as particularly enigmatic, utterance 666. It describes the pharaoh flying up to the sky like a heron and passing through the flame without burning. Mainstream interpretations see this as poetic metaphor, but alternative researchers like Jeremy Nadler argue it could reflect actual shamanic flight rituals, psychedelic journeys induced by sacred plants like the blue lotus. The truth may never be fully unwrapped, but the pyramid texts remain a testament to humanity's oldest obsession, cheating death one spell at a time. Just south of the Great Pyramid's shadow, a small, unassuming structure sits quietly, overshadowed by its colossal neighbors yet holding secrets just as profound. Known as G1A, this pyramid is often overlooked by visitors racing to see Giza's iconic monuments, but Egyptologists whisper that it might belong to Queen Nefertiti I, mother of Khufu and wife of Sneferu. If true, this unassuming tomb is a missing puzzle piece in one of Egypt's most powerful dynasties. Yet the mystery only deepens when you step inside, or rather, when you realize what isn't there. Discovered in 1925 by George Reisner's team, the pyramid's burial chamber was shockingly empty, save for an alabaster sarcophagus and a few scattered fragments of gold foil. At first glance, it seemed like another case of ancient tomb robbers striking gold, until Reisner's team unearthed something extraordinary nearby. A hidden shaft filled with pristine funerary furniture, including a gold-covered bed, a collapsible canopy, and even silver bracelets inlaid with butterfly-shaped turquoise. This was clearly Queen Nefertiti's treasure, but why was it buried separately from her body? The leading theory is grim. Tomb robbers likely plundered the queen's original burial soon after her death, forcing Khufu's architects to hastily rebury her valuables in a secret cache. But where, then, is Nefertiti herself? Some speculate her mummy was moved to an undiscovered chamber within the Great Pyramid, a theory fueled by radar scans revealing anomalies behind known walls. Others suggest she rests in one of Giza's many unexplored shafts, like the labyrinth of tunnels beneath the workman's village. The queen's disappearance isn't unique. Nefertiti, Ankh-Khepri, and other royal women vanish from records without clear burial sites. Were their tombs deliberately hidden or simply lost to time? The most tantalizing clue lies in the pyramid's alignment. Unlike later queen's pyramids, G1 points toward the celestial pole, not true north, an archaic feature hinting it might reuse an older structure. Could this explain the mismatched burial, or is there another chamber still sealed, waiting to rewrite history? Until archaeologists peel back more layers of Giza's sands, Nefertiti's fate remains as elusive as the gold that once adorned her vanished tomb. Rising from the Dosha Plateau like a half-finished thought, the bent pyramid stands as one of Egypt's most architectural oddities, a structure that literally changes its mind halfway up. Built by Pharaoh Sneferu around 2600 BC, this pyramid begins its ascent at a steep 54-degree angle, only to abruptly shift to a gentler 43 degrees about halfway to the summit. The effect is jarring, as if the builders suddenly realized their ambitions had outpaced their engineering. But was this a desperate correction to prevent collapse or something far more deliberate? Structural clues tell a compelling story. The steeper lower section shows visible signs of stress cracks in the inner chambers, uneven settling in the foundation, all warning signs that the pyramid's weight wasn't distributing evenly. Limestone, though durable, has its limits. Modern engineers calculate that continuing at 54 degrees would have risked catastrophic failure, especially given the pyramid's softer clay base. The switch to a shallower angle likely saved the entire project from crumbling under its own grandeur. Yet not all experts are convinced this was purely a practical fix. The bent pyramid's altered slope mirrors the exact angle of the sun's rays during the summer solstice in ancient Egypt, 43 degrees. This wasn't just a random choice, it was a sacred geometry. Sneferu's architects may have intentionally designed the upper section to catch the light of Ra at its most powerful moment, turning the pyramid into a colossal sundial or even a ramp for the pharaoh's soul to ascend to the solar bark. Supporting this theory, the pyramid's original name, Sneferu shines in the south, hints at a solar connection far deeper than structural necessity. The duality of the bent pyramid, part engineering failure, part celestial blueprint, reflects the experimental spirit of Sneferu's reign. Just a few years later, his architects would perfect the form with the Red Pyramid, built at a uniform 43 degrees from the start. That success suggests the bent pyramid wasn't just a mistake, but a vital stepping stone in Egypt's pyramid evolution. Every flaw became a lesson, every correction a revelation. Whether born from crisis or cosmic design, this bent wonder reminds us that even the mightiest monuments carry the fingerprints of human trial and error, and sometimes the most fascinating stories are written in the bends, not the straight lines. The flickering glow of torchlight reflecting off gilded temple walls, This is how most of us picture ancient Egypt illuminated, but what if some chambers held a different kind of light? A fringe theory claims the Egyptians harnessed electricity, pointing to artifacts like the Dendera reliefs as potential proof. These carvings, often dubbed the light bulb scenes, show elongated objects resembling modern bulbs with filaments connected to what some interpret as cables. Proponents argue these aren't just symbolic lotus blossoms and serpents, but blueprints for working electrical devices, perhaps even primitive batteries akin to the Baghdad find. Yet mainstream archaeology raises a glaring counterpoint. Where are the wires? No copper cables or insulation materials have turned up in excavations, and the so-called Dendera cables resemble traditional jed pillars and lotus stems, symbols of stability and rebirth. Even more telling, the walls of enclosed spaces like the inner chambers of pyramids show no soot marks, suggesting the Egyptians relied on polished bronze mirrors to redirect sunlight deep into temples. Archaeologists have unearthed hundreds of these mirrors, along with limestone lamp niches designed to hold oil-soaked wicks. The math adds up. A single torch can illuminate a 30-foot radius, and strategically placed mirrors could bounce that light into the darkest corners without leaving residue. But the electricity theory gains traction from one curious artifact, the so-called Baghdad battery, a clay jar from Mesopotamia containing a copper cylinder and iron rod that, when filled with vinegar, produces a small electric charge. Could Egypt have had similar technology? The problem is scale. While the Baghdad device generates about 1 volt, enough for a mild tingle, there's no evidence it was used for anything beyond electroplating jewelry or ritual purposes. Even if Egyptians stumbled upon basic voltaic principles, the leap to lighting entire temples strains credibility without physical evidence like wires or switches. Perhaps the most compelling argument against ancient electricity lies in the materials themselves. Bronze mirrors and oil lamps leave clear archaeological traces: carbon deposits, broken shards, metal fragments. Electrical systems would require conductive metals in quantities that simply don't appear in the record. The absence isn't just silence, it's a chorus of contradictions. That hasn't stopped the theories, though. Some suggest the Ark of the Covenant's biblical descriptions sparking and lethal to touch hint at lost electrical knowledge, while others propose the pyramid's granite-lined shafts acted as primitive power conduits. The truth likely bridges both worlds. While the Egyptians almost certainly didn't have light bulbs, their understanding of optics and reflection was sophisticated enough to create dazzling luminous effects. Temples like Karnak used angled corridors and gold-leafed surfaces to amplify candlelight, producing a shimmering illusion of divine radiance. Whether through mirrors or myths, they mastered the play of light and shadow not with electrons, but with ingenuity that still feels electric millennia later. Deep in the annals of Egyptian history lies a place so rich, so mythical, that its very existence feels like a legend: the land of Punt. Described in temple inscriptions as the Terrace of Incense, this enigmatic kingdom was Egypt's primary source of myrrh, ebony, ivory, and even live cheetahs and baboons for royal menageries. Yet despite centuries of trade, not a single Egyptian map marks its location. Punt exists only in fragments: a line in a pharaoh's chronicle, a faded mural, a broken jar labeled with its name. The mystery is so enduring that scholars still debate whether Punt lay in modern-day Somalia, Sudan, or even as far south as Eritrea. One of the most vivid glimpses into this lost world comes from Queen Hatshepsut's mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri. A sprawling relief depicts her expedition to Punt in lavish detail: ships weighed down with treasure, towering piles of incense resin, and Puntite villagers living in stilt houses shaped like beehives. The murals show chieftains with curved staffs and their wives, one depicted with exaggerated features possibly suggesting steatopygia, a trait found in some African ethnic groups. These images are tantalizing, but they raise more questions than answers. Why did the Egyptians, meticulous record keepers who mapped their own lands down to the cubit, leave Punt's coordinates shrouded in deliberate ambiguity? Some historians argue Punt's secrecy was economic. As the sole suppliers of myrrh, a substance as valuable as gold in ancient rituals, the Puntites may have guarded their homeland's location fiercely, forcing Egyptian traders to navigate by oral tradition or secret routes. Others propose Punt wasn't a fixed place at all, but a shifting network of ports and markets along the Red Sea coast. The most provocative theory comes from genetic studies of mummified baboons from Punt, whose isotopic signatures point to the Horn of Africa. Yet even this clue is contentious, as ancient trade routes could have transported animals far from their origins. The irony, for all its obscurity, Punt's influence was everywhere in Egypt. Temple rituals relied on its incense, pharaohs boasted of its riches, and tomb paintings depicted its exotic goods as symbols of divine favor. The land was so revered that Egyptians called it Ta-Netjer, land of the god, hinting at a spiritual connection beyond commerce. Perhaps Punt's true power lay in its mystery, a place just real enough to covet, just distant enough to mythologize. Until some overlooked inscription or buried shipwreck reveals its heart, Punt remains history's most tantalizing blind spot, a kingdom lost in the glare of its own precious incense. Rising from the sands of Dosha like a forgotten titan, the Black Pyramid of Amenem, Hat III casts a haunting silhouette, its shattered remains a far cry from its former glory. Unlike the gleaming limestone monuments of Giza, this pyramid was once sheathed in polished black granite, a dark mirror reflecting the sun's rays with an almost supernatural intensity. But today, its casing stones lie scattered like broken teeth, the core collapsed inward like a deflated balloon. What went wrong? The answer lies beneath the surface, quite literally. Archaeologists studying the pyramid's ruins uncovered a fatal flaw: the foundation. Built atop unstable subsoil laced with pockets of clay, the massive structure began sinking almost immediately after completion. The clay layers, when saturated by groundwater, acted like quicksand, causing the pyramid to settle unevenly. Cracks spiderwebbed through its corridors, walls bulged under the strain, and eventually entire sections crumbled. It's a textbook case of architectural hubris. Amenemhat's builders prioritized grandeur over geology, and the land itself fought back. Yet the pyramid's physical collapse isn't the only mystery. Beneath the rubble, ground-penetrating radar has revealed a labyrinth of unexplored tunnels and chambers, some sealed so thoroughly they've resisted all attempts at entry. These aren't just structural passages, their layout suggests ritual significance, possibly connecting to the cult of the pharaoh's afterlife. Even more intriguing are local legends claiming the pyramid once housed a shadow chamber, a room lined with obsidian where Amenemhat performed secret rites under the stars. No such chamber has been found, but the pyramid's name in ancient texts, Amenemhat lives in the darkness, hints at something beyond a mere tomb. Theories about these hidden spaces range from the plausible to the fantastical. Some scholars suggest they contain unfinished burial annexes, abandoned when the pyramid's instability became apparent. Others point to the pyramid's alignment with the constellation Orion, proposing the tunnels mirror celestial pathways for the pharaoh's soul. Then there's the more speculative idea that the black granite wasn't just decorative, it was functional, chosen for its alleged energy-conducting properties, turning the pyramid into a kind of ancient power hub. For now, the Black Pyramid remains a puzzle wrapped in crumbling stone. Its ruins serve as a stark reminder that even the mightiest monuments are subject to the Earth's whims. But perhaps its true secrets aren't lost, just buried, waiting for the right technology or the right moment to reveal what Amenemhat hid in the dark. Until then, the pyramid stands as a monument to human ambition and its fragile dance with nature. Among the most enduring symbols of ancient Egypt, the Eye of Horus isn't just a striking emblem, it's a mathematical cipher, a medical talisman, and a mythic saga rolled into one. The legend begins with a brutal battle between Horus, the falcon-headed god of kingship, and his uncle Set, the god of chaos. During their clash, Set tore out Horus's left eye, shattering it into fragments. But Thoth, the ibis-headed scribe of the gods, didn't just restore the eye. He transformed it into something far more potent. The healed eye, known as the Wadjet, became a symbol of protection, wholeness, and hidden knowledge. But beneath its sacred veneer lies a numerical puzzle that reveals the Egyptians' genius for blending myth and mathematics. Each fragment of the restored eye corresponds to a specific fraction: halves, quarters, eighths, sixteenths, 30-seconds, and 64ths, mirroring the way ancient scribes divided grain and measured land. The eyebrow represents 1/8, the pupil 1/4, the curved tail 1/16, and so on. Add them together and you get 63 64ths, with Thoth's magic accounting for the missing fraction to complete unity. This wasn't just poetic symmetry, it was a practical system encoded into art. Tax collectors used these fractions to calculate portions of harvests, while physicians prescribed medicines in the same ratios, believing the eye's magic enhanced healing. Amulets shaped like the Wadjet were placed on mummies to guard the dead, their very curves whispering equations for resurrection. The symbol's duality, myth and math, has fueled speculation for centuries. Some researchers propose the Eye of Horus was more than a teaching tool. It might have encrypted advanced knowledge. In 2011, a team of neurologists noted that the fractions align eerily with the way the human brain processes sensory input in distinct regions. Could the Egyptians have mapped neural pathways millennia before modern science? Others point to the eye's resemblance to the pineal gland, the so-called third eye, linked to spiritual awakening in later esoteric traditions. Even the myth itself hints at deeper layers. Horus's restored sight didn't just heal his vision, it granted him insight, the ability to perceive truth beyond the visible. Medical papyri like the Ebers and Edwin Smith codices reinforce this link between symbol and science. Prescriptions for eye ailments often invoke the Wadjet, while surgical tools were forged in its shape, as if channeling Thoth's restorative power. The irony is rich. A myth about lost and regained vision became a blueprint for actual medicine, its geometry embedded in scalpels and salves. Modern chemists have even found that some Egyptian remedies, when measured in the eye's fractions, yield optimal dosages for anti-inflammatory compounds. Coincidence or encrypted wisdom? Then there's the tantalizing theory that the eye's fractions served as a kind of ancient binary code. Computer scientists note that the sequence having each time mirrors the way digital systems break down data. While the Egyptians certainly didn't invent computers, their fascination with patterns suggests they recognized universal principles we've only recently quantified. Whether a divine gift, a mathematical cheat sheet, or a medical manifesto, the Eye of Horus endures as a masterclass in how symbols can bridge worlds visible and invisible, mortal and divine. Its fragments, once scattered by chaos, now form a lens through which we glimpse the precision behind the mysticism, a reminder that even the sacred can be measured. Pharaoh Akhenaten didn't just die, he was erased. Within years of his passing, workers chiseled his name from temple walls, toppled his statues, and systematically dismantled the radical sun cult he'd built. This wasn't casual neglect, it was a campaign of annihilation so thorough, Akhenaten's very existence nearly vanished from history. The question isn't just why this happened, it's who orchestrated the purge, and whether it was driven by religious fury, political vengeance, or something even darker. Akhenaten's reign was a thunderclap in Egyptian history. He abandoned the traditional pantheon, replacing gods like Ammon with a single deity, Aten, the radiant sun disk. He uprooted the capital from Thebes to a brand new city, Amarna, built in the desert as a shrine to his solar vision. To his supporters, this was spiritual revolution. To the entrenched priesthood, it was heresy. When Akhenaten died, the backlash was swift. Temples to Aten were dismantled brick by brick, and his city was abandoned like a cursed relic. But who gave the order? The likeliest suspect is his own son-in-law, Tutankhamun, or rather, the shadowy advisors ruling through the boy king. Tutankhamun's famous restoration decree, which revived the old gods, reads like a repudiation of everything Akhenaten stood for. Yet DNA evidence complicates the narrative. Genetic studies confirm Akhenaten was Tutankhamun's father, making the young pharaoh's participation in his father's erasure even more haunting. Was Tutankhamun a willing participant or a pawn in a power grab by Amun's priests? The destruction wasn't just symbolic, it was surgical. Statues of Akhenaten were recarved into likenesses of other pharaohs, his inscriptions overwritten. Even in Amarna's ruins, where archaeologists uncovered the royal family's intimate portraits, Akhenaten's face is often deliberately defaced. This level of targeted violence suggests more than religious correction. It feels like personal vendetta. Some historians point to Horemheb, Tutankhamun's eventual successor, as the true architect of the purge. A military man with no royal blood, Horemheb legitimized his rule by casting himself as Egypt's savior from Akhenaten's madness. His edicts not only condemned Atenism but retroactively erased Akhenaten's reign from official records, shortening history itself to cut him out, yet traces survive like stubborn echoes. A handful of Amarna's boundary stelae carved into remote cliffs escaped destruction. Fragments of Akhenaten's hymns to Aten resurfaced in later texts, repurposed as prayers to Amun. Even Tutankhamun's tomb held clues. The boy king's golden mask bears an erased cartouch, likely Akhenaten's name, hastily covered with gilding. These whispers confirm a truth the destroyers couldn't fully suppress. Revolutions leave ghosts. Whether heretic or visionary, Akhenaten's legacy haunts Egyptology, a reminder that history is written by the victors, but sometimes the vanquished flicker back to life in the cracks between the stones. At the very apex of every pyramid where the four triangular faces converge, there once sat a sacred piece known as the pyramidion, a gleaming capstone believed to symbolize the pharaoh's ascension to the heavens. Yet not a single original capstone from Egypt's great pyramids has survived intact. They've vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but empty summits and a riddle that's puzzled archaeologists for centuries. What happened to these crowning jewels, and why have they eluded discovery? One leading theory points to their material. Historical accounts, like those of the Greek historian Herodotus, suggest the capstones were sheathed in electrum, a dazzling alloy of gold and silver. Imagine sunlight striking these pyramidions, transforming them into blinding beacons visible for miles. Such splendor would have made irresistible targets for looters. Over millennia, thieves could have pried them loose, melted them down, or repurposed the precious metal for other treasures. The absence of any intact capstones, despite the pyramid's sheer durability, hints at deliberate removal rather than natural decay. But there's another, more symbolic possibility. In Egyptian cosmology, the pyramidion represented the Benben stone, the primordial mound from which creation itself sprang. Some scholars argue these capstones weren't merely stolen but ritually removed, perhaps during periods of religious upheaval. When Akhenaten dismantled traditional worship, for instance, he might have ordered the sacred pyramidions destroyed to sever ties with the old gods. Alternatively, they could have been ceremonially buried or hidden to protect their spiritual power, much like the Ark of the Covenant in later traditions. Later dynasties offer tantalizing clues. A handful of pyramidions from smaller, less prominent tombs have survived, like the beautifully inscribed one belonging to Pharaoh Amenemhat III, now housed in the Cairo Museum. These replicas, though not from the Giza pyramids, give us a glimpse of what the originals might have looked like: sleek, polished, and adorned with hieroglyphs invoking the sun god Ra. Their survival suggests the Great Pyramid's capstones were either far more valuable or far more controversial, destined to disappear under circumstances we're only beginning to unravel. The mystery deepens when you consider engineering. Capstones weren't just decorative, they served a structural purpose, sealing the pyramid's apex and completing its geometry. Their absence has left the pyramids physically and perhaps spiritually incomplete. Recent scans of the Great Pyramid's summit reveal unusual wear patterns, as if something heavy was dragged or pried away with tremendous force. Was this the work of thieves or evidence of a deliberate ritual dismantling? Perhaps the truth lies in a combination of factors: precious materials inviting theft, sacred significance inviting removal, and time erasing the traces. Whatever the case, the missing pyramidions stand as silent witnesses to the gaps in our understanding. They remind us that even the most enduring monuments are vulnerable to the ambitions of humanity and the passage of millennia. Until one is found, their fate remains a blank space at the pinnacle of Egypt's architectural wonders. Beneath the sun-baked surface of the Giza Plateau, a hidden world of tunnels and chambers weaves through the bedrock like veins beneath skin, some documented, others whispered about in archaeological circles. The most famous of these subterranean passages is the Osiris Shaft, a three-tiered structure discovered in the 1930s, plunging nearly 100 feet below the Sphinx's gaze. Its upper levels reveal empty chambers, but its lowest tier holds something eerie, a waterlogged sarcophagus eerily positioned as if guarding something unseen. Mainstream Egyptologists dismiss it as a symbolic tomb linked to the god Osiris, but fringe researchers hear a different story. The shaft's precise alignment with the stars of Orion's belt mirrors the pyramids above, fueling theories that it's part of a grand celestial map, one that might point to deeper, undiscovered systems. Then there's the so-called Tomb of the Birds, a lesser-known tunnel network beneath the workmen's village where explorers found thousands of mummified falcons. Unlike the majestic animal burials of Saqqara, these birds were packed tightly into narrow shafts, their purpose unclear. Were they offerings to Horus or markers for something else? Nearby, ground-penetrating radar has detected a grid of anomalies extending toward the Great Pyramid rectangular voids that don't match natural formations. Could these be the edges of a labyrinth, sealed and forgotten? The most tantalizing claims come from prophetic sources. Edgar Cayce, the 20th century mystic, famously declared that beneath the Sphinx's paws lay the Hall of Records, a vault containing Atlantean knowledge and advanced technology. While no such chamber has been officially acknowledged, seismic surveys in the 1990s revealed hollow spaces beneath the Sphinx's forelimbs, later dismissed as natural fissures. Yet the rumors persist, fed by accounts like those of British explorer Andrew Collins, who documented a maze of catacombs stretching toward the nearby Cave of Birds, a site locals claim connects to hidden chambers beneath the pyramids. Even more provocative are the accounts of early explorers like Giovanni Caviglia, who in 1817 reported finding tunnels beneath the Great Pyramid filled with hieroglyphs he couldn't decipher, passages later sealed by authorities. Modern researchers point to the Gantenbrink door, a mysterious limestone slab blocking a narrow shaft in the Great Pyramid's Queen's Chamber, discovered by a robotic camera in 1993. Its copper handles and polished surface suggest a deliberate barrier, but what lies beyond remains one of Egyptology's most guarded secrets. Are these tunnels merely functional drainage systems or quarry access points? Or do they form a hidden network, a subterranean echo of the celestial order above? The absence of definitive answers only fuels the speculation. For every documented shaft, there are whispers of others, like the alleged tunnel between the Great Pyramid and the Nile, said to have been flooded when the river shifted course. Until technology or sheer luck peels back another layer of Giza's secrets, these underground passages will remain the plateau's silent keepers, holding stories we've only begun to guess. Everyone knows the Rosetta Stone, that slab of black basalt that cracked the code of hieroglyphs. But what if I told you it wasn't the only key? Decades before Champollion's breakthrough, archaeologists unearthed another stone, just as inscribed, just as packed with ancient decrees. The Decree of Canopus, carved in 2338 B. C, bears the same triple script formula as the Rosetta Stone, hieroglyphs, Demotic, and ancient Greek. So why didn't it unlock Egypt's secrets first? The answer lies not in the stone itself, but in the missing piece Champollion had that earlier scholars didn't context. The Decree of Canopus was discovered in 1866 at Tanis, a city drowned in silt for centuries. Unlike the Rosetta Stone's military proclamations, this text celebrated Pharaoh Ptolemy III's divine benevolence after a famine, a subtler, more poetic script. Early linguists like Sylvester de Sacy and Johann David Ackerblad tried using it to decipher hieroglyphs, but they hit a wall. The problem: names. The Rosetta Stone's cartouches, those oval rings enclosing royal names, were clearer, more repetitive, giving Champollion the phonetic clues he needed. The Canopus Decree's phrasings were elegant but elusive, like trying to solve a crossword puzzle with half the clues smudged. But the real game changer was cultural insight. Champollion didn't just study the stones, he devoured Coptic, the liturgical language descended from ancient Egyptian. When he saw the hieroglyph for sun, he didn't just match it to the Greek Helios, he heard the Coptic word Ra, linking sound and symbol in a way earlier scholars couldn't. The Decree of Canopus lacked those bilingual Rosetta moments, its Greek translations more interpretive than literal, yet these sister stones weren't failures, they were stepping stones. The Philae obelisk, another lesser-known twin, provided cartouches of Cleopatra that confirmed Champollion's hunches. Together, these texts formed a scaffold, each filling gaps the others left. The Rosetta Stone didn't work alone, it was the final piece in a puzzle built over decades. So next time you see that famous slab in the British Museum, remember, it wasn't just one stone that cracked the code. It was a chorus of voices whispering across millennia, waiting for the right ears to listen. From the impossible precision of the Great Pyramid's construction to the eerie void chambers hidden within its depths, from the riddles of the Sphinx's true age to the whispers of lost technologies hinted at in the Dendera reliefs, each of these 25 mysteries peels back another layer of Egypt's enigmatic past. These aren't just puzzles waiting to be solved, they're invitations to step into a world where history and myth blur, where every artifact and inscription holds the potential to rewrite what we thought we knew. The genius of ancient Egypt wasn't just in its towering monuments or golden treasures, but in the way it wove science, spirituality, and symbolism into a tapestry so intricate we're still unraveling its threads today. What makes these mysteries so enduring? It's the way they resist easy answers. The Serapeum's colossal sarcophagi could be sacred animal coffins, or something far stranger. The missing capstones of the pyramids might have been stolen, or perhaps they were never meant to survive. Even the fate of Nefertiti, vanishing from history only to haunt us with fragments of evidence, reminds us that the past is never truly settled. Egypt doesn't just give us facts, it gives us stories that shift with each discovery, each new scan of the sand. Now it's your turn, dive deeper. Which of these mysteries fascinates you the most? Is it the eerie precision of the pyramid builders, the unsettling helicopter hieroglyphs of Abydos, or the sunken secrets of Heracleion? Share your theories in the comments and let's keep the conversation alive. History isn't just about answers, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the connections we make across millennia. And this is just the beginning. From the lost cities of Mesopotamia to the untold stories of the Silk Road, there are countless enigmas waiting to be explored. So if you're ready to unravel more of history's greatest puzzles, make sure you're subscribed because the next chapter of Unsolved Mysteries is just around the corner. Until then, keep questioning, keep wondering, and remember, the past isn't dead, it's not even past.